In this video, I'd like to walk through the solution for a practice problem. Hopefully you've attempted naming all of these compounds, and I'm going to walk through how to do it myself. So let's start with the first one. We have our copper and iodine. This is our complex ion right here, and it's an anion. So that means I'll have a funny name for my metal. And I have my counter ion, which is my potassium. I'm always going to lead with my cation first. So I'm just going to name it first here. It's potassium as a separate word, and it's going to build confidence. I'm going to feel better. Now my next job is to name that complex ion, and I'm going to start with the ligand. And I only have one. It's iodine, which is iodo, and I have 4 of them, which is tetra. So potassium, tetra, iodo. And now I need to name that metal, and it would be copper 2 if it was the cation, but it's not a cation complex ion, even though the copper itself is a cation. So I'll run to my table and I'll look up, okay, copper plus 2, and it's going to be cuprate. And I'm still going to put in parentheses the oxidation state of that copper, which is 2. So potassium tetraiodocuprate 2. These names are so long. All right, let's go on to the next one. So here's my complex ion. I'm gonna highlight complex ions in green. Here's my complex ion, and in blue I'll put my counter ion. So I'm going to start with the cation first. So I'm going to name the complex ion first this time. I've got this cobalt. Since my complex ion is the cation overall, I'll be able to name it a nice simple cobalt with its oxidation state in parentheses. So I'll start first with my ligands. I have NH3, which will be an amine, and I have CO, which is carbonyl. I forgot it in there, or carbonyl. And I've got 2 of my amine and 4 of my carbonyl. So those 2 will be di, and that 4 will be tetra. So I have di, amine, tetra, and this is all one word, carbonyl. And now I've got my ligands done, so I'll add in the metal, which is cobalt. 3. Whew, okay, got the complex ion done. Now for the counter ion, which is a polyatomic ion. So I may or may not have this memorized. I would run to the polyatomic ion chart and take a look to make sure I had the name right. And it is nitrate. Diamine tetracarbonyl cobalt 3 nitrate. All right, now let's go on to our next one. We have another one where our complex ion is our cation, which simplifies some of our metal naming. And we have a anion that is a polyatomic ion, sulfite. Something I want to draw your attention to on this one is, let's get a good color here. I have 2 complex ions for every 1 counter ion, which is a little bit more complicated. But only in appearance. We're actually not going to name that 2 because we're going to be able to determine the overall charge of this complex ion from its name. And if we know the overall charge of that complex ion and the overall charge of its counter ion, we can figure out the ratio that these combine in. So we won't worry about explicitly naming it like we would the oxidation state on a transition metal that could change without us having a way of determining what it is. So let's walk through and name this. Again, we're going to start with our cation. And in this case, we have diethylamine, and we have nitrosyl. Sorry, ethylene diamine and nitrosyl. And then I'm pulling those from our ligand naming chart. So we'll start with the ethylene diamine because it starts with an E. I've got 2 of these, and I also have 2 of the NO2 molecules as well. So I'm going to start with, it's not going to be di. So like within my ethylene diamine, let's write it out, ethylene diamine. I have this di in there already, so I can't do diethylene diamine. It'll be confusing. So I'm going to take that ethylene diamine name for my ligand. I'm going to put it in parentheses, and I have two of them. So I will use the prefix bis outside the parentheses, bis ethylene diamine. I have two ethylene diamine that communicates. And then when I switch to my nitrosyl, or nitro, sorry, it's not nitrosyl, my apologies, that's NO. My nitro, I have two of those, but I don't have a di or tri in the name nitro. So it'll come back to being dinitro. And now I name the iron, iron 3. 3 will be in parentheses. And now I name my counterion, which is the anion, which is sulfite. And that's it. Bis ethylene diamine dinitro iron 3 sulfite. It's a mouthful.